So now that we're starting with equations, we're going to start kind of at the beginning, or at least some pieces and parts. The first one being evaluating and simplifying. So evaluating is just the idea that you are substituting in some values for variables, and simplifying means you're getting the expression down to its simplest form. So you're going to keep combining things if you can, just so that you get the simplest answer possible. So now that things are going to start to get a little bit more complicated, it's good to just get in the habit of substituting with parentheses. Sometimes the expression is easy enough that you really don't need them, but sometimes the expression will get pretty complex, and parentheses make a huge difference, especially when you're dealing with negatives. So right out of the gate, we're going to start substituting with parentheses. So for these problems, we're evaluating when x equals 5 and y equals -2. So the first step is just to substitute in, again, on its own line. So I'm substituting in 5 for x and then -2 for y with parentheses. Now I still have to follow all of the orders of operations, so I have multiplication here and here. So I have to do that before the addition. So 3 times 5 is 15. And like I said with integers, this is where you want to take a pause and don't automatically put that plus sign. You want to figure out if your next term is going to be positive or negative, so you just have one sign that you're going to deal with. So in this case, I have a positive 5 times a -2, which is -10. And I'm just going to write that. It's not necessarily wrong if you put plus, because the plus is here, and then say 5 times -2 is -10, then you're going to have two signs in here, and that's just going to complicate matters. So stop and figure out what kind of numbers you're dealing with first. Now I just have 15 minus 10, which is 5. And my answer is simplified because that's as simple as it's going to get. Same thing here, 10x minus 2y. So 10, substitute in the 5 for x, minus 2, substitute in the -2 for y. So again, I have to do this multiplication first. I have a positive 10 and a positive 5, which is 50. And then before I write any sign down, I'm going to see what kind of number I have. I have -2 times -2. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm just going to write plus 4. Again, you might jump to having this minus and then do 2 times -2 is -4. You're going to have two negatives in a row, which still make a positive. But it's just easier to have only one sign to deal with. And then 50 plus 4 is 54. Then over here, 2x plus 9y. Again, with parentheses. And then -2. So I have 2 times 5 is 10. I'm not writing down any sign yet till I figure out what I have. Positive 9 times -2 is -18. And I have to pay very close attention here. This goes back to my rules of integers. I have a positive 10 and a -18. Different sign difference. So I need to subtract. The difference of 10 and 18 is 8. And then since 18 is bigger and it's negative, my answer is negative. Okay, now I have just a little bit more complicated things, if you want to think about it that way, to substitute in, because I do have a fraction. But the process is going to stay the same. So x is -4 and y is 1/3. So 3, substitute in -4 with my parentheses, plus 9, substitute in 1/3. I'm going to do this multiplication first. 3 times -4 is -12. Now here I'm multiplying with fractions. Again, I can put any whole number over 1 if I just like the look of a fraction times a fraction. I'm going to cross cancel if I can, which I actually can, because 3 and 9 have a common factor of 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now I just have a positive 3 times a positive 1, which is positive 3. When I look at this line, I have a negative 12 and a positive 3, different sign difference. So my answer is negative 9, because the difference of 12 and 3 is 9, and since 12 is the bigger number and it's negative, my answer is negative. Now I have a lot of negatives here, so I don't want to lose those. Negative 2, parentheses, substitute in negative 4. I still have this minus 3, substitute in 1/3. Right now I can just put that 1 there since I know I'm dealing with fractions. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Now when I look at this, 3 over 1 times 1 over 3, both of those are going to cancel out, and this is just 1. So I really have a negative 1 times a positive 1, which is negative 1. And 8 minus 1 is 7. Lastly, now I had to pay really close attention because here my variables are actually opposite what they are here. So I want to make sure I'm paying very close attention, so I substitute in the right amount. So 10, substitute in for y, which is 1/3, minus 5, substitute in x, which is negative 4. I'm going to put my over 1 right there so I have a fraction. I'm looking to see if I have any common factors here, and I do not. So I can't cross-cancel anything. I'm just going to multiply the fraction. 10 times 1 is 10. 1 times 3 is 3. Negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20. Now, I can't leave it like that because my object is to simplify it, and it's not as simple as it can get. So I'm adding with fractions. That means I need a common denominator. So I'm going to put this 20 over 1 so that I do have a denominator to work with. And my common denominator is going to be 3. So this isn't going to change. But if I change this denominator to 3, I did that by multiplying 1 times 3. And if I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. 20 times 3 is 60. So when I add, 10 plus 60 is 70. The denominator stays the same. That is in lowest terms so that I could leave it like that even though it's an improper fraction. So again, with evaluating, substituting in, be sure to use parentheses. Sometimes it seems like it's pointless, but many times it's absolutely necessary to keep everything straight. Pay close attention to your variables and the order in which they're presenting themselves in the problem because you don't want to mix them up. And then when you're actually doing your multiplication, don't write down any signs until you know what kind of number you have, whether it's positive or negative. You don't want to have more signs in a problem than you need, and you certainly want to have the correct one. And fractions, again, just take a little bit more work, but they work the same way as the fractions that we've been practicing. So that is it on simplifying, and next will be the distributive property.